Join us on the horn. Speaking of huge, you'll hear him every once in a while on the Huge Show all across the state of Michigan. And he actually fills in and does some guest hosting there on 96.1 The Game as well. Our good buddy Jeff Risdon. Jeff, my man, emergency call here last night as Ben Johnson is returning. Oh, there is a God. How are you, my friend?
It's good to be with you. And just a quick plug, I will be on the Huge Show tomorrow in studio for 2 hours. So check that out.
Wait, you're in studio for 2 hours? You got to go in studio with Huge for 2 hours?
Yeah, I kind of do it at least once a week. It's fun. I love getting in there with a big guy.
Oh, man.
Although he's smaller than me. Don't tell him that.
I won't. I don't want to bruise it.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun with that. But yeah, Ben Johnson, that was tremendous news. You know, it came out. I'm sitting there. I'm watching my son's high school basketball game last night, and I get a couple of alerts like, "Hey, it's happening!" And it indeed happened. And you know, multiple sources quickly backed up Tom Pelissero, the NFL Network's initial report that Ben Johnson, not only is he not going to Carolina, he didn't even fly down there to interview, and he's not taking a second interview that both the Colts and Texans had requested with him. So he's staying, which is fantastic news for the Lions, fantastic news for Jared Goff, and for Lions fans, obviously, because, my God, when was the last time we've had that much fun watching the Lions offense play? It's been a long time.
It's been a very long time. What does this say for, to the fans about what's happening there in Detroit? Because that wretched start that they got off to at 1-6, but then the 8-2 down the stretch, obviously just missing the playoffs. That great game against Green Bay, pulling out all the stops, the hook and ladder. Like, are you kidding me? We had a JMO touchdown that was called back that we're going to see hopefully all year long next year. But what does that say to the fans that this guy is like, you know what? No, I want to stay here because I believe that we are building something special in Detroit.
And that's exactly it. And he's going to get more opportunities later down the road, and we'll probably be going through the same agonizing ordeal next offseason, and he might leave then. But I think there were a couple things that were at play here. First, he understands what he's got with all the weapons that you just laid out. You know, having Amon-Ra St. Brown, having a good offensive line, a stable line. He has a head coach who feeds into his aggressive tendencies and allows him to be somewhat creative. Dan does have input on the playbook. He does have input on when to call certain things, and he greenlights a lot of it. He does have the right of refusal. He can tell Ben that, no, you can't do that here. But didn't have to do that very often. And that sort of symbiotic relationship is not easy. And for a guy like Johnson, in his first season as a coordinator, if he climbs up to the head coach, all of a sudden he's that guy. And he's got to find an offensive coordinator that he's comfortable with. He's got to get a quarterback at any of the places that he's going to. I think he genuinely likes working with Jared Goff. That certainly makes a lot of sense for him. They clicked together late in the season. My God, Goff down the stretch was top 10, certainly top 5, potentially quarterback. And that the idea of bringing that entire band back together again, like, look, this offense will have 10 returning starters next year, possibly 11. Although I don't think Evan Brown's back at right guard. That's how you build a team. That's how you get some wins, and that's what they've been preaching over there in Allen Park for a long time. Get to winning, make it a habit, and they're starting to do that.
It is incredibly, incredibly exciting. There was a moment. It was 2nd down and 2. The Lions, and this is in the Green Bay game. It's late in the game. There's a penalty for an offside on Green Bay. It's 2nd and 2. Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, Dan Campbell are talking some things over, and they go out there with the play call, and they decide to decline the penalty, keep it at 2nd and 2 so they can run the ball and get another playoff before the 2-minute warning. And it almost felt like they knew they were going to get the first down. Like, it's very rare that a team ever declines a free first down, but they did that to force Green Bay to use a timeout. And that, to me, like, they were playing chess out there. And for all of the clock management concerns that fans may have had about this organization, it's always different at field level, right? There's 1,010,000 things going on any given play. So it's always a little bit difficult when you're out there on the field trying to do all of this in real time. But it felt like they have a very good handle on exactly what they wanted to run in that situation, a belief that they were going to get the first down, and they were a step ahead of the Packers as well by forcing them to use an extra timeout. It was like, man, this whole thing really did come together.
It absolutely did, and that's a fantastic example of it. And by the way, the clock issues, and Dan Campbell has had them, no question about it. I would point people to the end of the Baltimore Ravens playoff game and their season with not calling timeouts when you've got a chance to go win, and instead you wind up running the clock out just absentmindedly. By the way, that was the third game this year that John Harbaugh's coaching decisions directly cost the Ravens a win with terrible decisions down the stretch. John Harbaugh is, I don't know if he's the best head coach in the NFL. I think you got to give that to Bill Belichick, but he's certainly in the top three and within sniffing distance of the top. When he's having issues like that, you know it's not just a Dan Campbell thing. It goes on all around the league. So the fact that Dan improved and did get to, like you said, he is playing chess with that. That's a brilliant call, and it requires trust in your coordinator. It requires trust in your players to go make things happen. Jamal Williams picking up the 2 yards that you've got the best short yardage back in there's so much that goes into that, and the fact that Johnson and Campbell consider all that and process it and get it done and have that sort of gumption to do that. That's one of the reasons why Lions fans should be very excited about where this team is going, because it's not something that we have seen in a long time with our coaching staff. You got to go back to Wayne Fontes, kind of being he wasn't the original riverboat gambler, but he certainly liked to take some chances, and it's exciting and it's great when it works. The issue would have been had it failed, then you're open to the criticism. But then again, that's where it's so important that these guys have trust in one another and trust in their roster. That irreplaceable confidence. You better believe the players feel that. You know how it feels when you're a competitor and your coach is like, I don't know if you got this. Like, no, you got this, man. Go get it. And that's exactly where the Lions are at right now.
Belief is very, very scary. I saw Taylor Decker tweeted out, like, please, like something along the lines of, tell me this isn't April 1st right now. It seems like this might be the shot in the arm of Ben Johnson returning that takes this team to the next level, just because someone is committing to them. Somebody, even if it's just for one more year before a great opportunity opens itself up. And who knows, they could flame out and we could all get burned by this and we could go 2-15 next year. We have no idea what next year holds for us, but it does feel like this might be one of those moves that propels the team from inside the locker room to where, yes, no, everybody, we're all on the same page. That belief is real. This team is real. This is actually happening.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're trying to build here, and that's one of the reasons why staying appealed so much to Ben Johnson. Look at the jobs that are available. He was going to get offered the Carolina job. That was very obvious from all the people that I've talked to in Charlotte. He was who their owner wanted and who their GM wanted. But he looked at their situation. They don't have a quarterback. They have 2 good offensive linemen. They've got I don't know, how do you describe Dave Tepper? New money owner is probably the best way to say that. It's been a little chaotic down there. And by the way, the Lions can't stand their playing surface. Don't think that didn't play a little bit into it. It was look, it's a good opportunity, but there will be better ones next offseason. Who knows what's happening in any number of things as time progresses. Johnson gets another year to hone his craft, to even make his resume even better. Where next year, like this year, Sean Payton's out there. Some of the other candidates are bouncing around that are appealing. Next year, if he has the kind of year that the way this year finished, he's going to be the number 1 candidate, and he can pick where he wants to go. So I think that's a bit of a strategic point on his part. The other thing that goes on with this, we were wondering, okay, if Ben Johnson leaves, who's taken over for the offense? This gives the organization another year to identify who that person is on the offensive staff already, whether it's Tanner Engstrand, whether it's Hank Fraley, Antoine Randall L., maybe Deuce Staley moves into that role, or maybe JT Barrett, a guy like that who is a rising star within the coaching ranks in Detroit, is a guy that can ascend up. It allows him to start grooming the eventual successor, because, look, Ben Johnson didn't stay here forever. I think that's pretty clear. But this is such a perfect confluence of events for a young team that's aspiring to make the postseason for the first time in, 7 years? It'll be 7 years now. Again, I'm just so excited about where they're at and how high their ceiling can go. And you're adding in 4 of the top 60 picks, 4 of the top 56 picks in the draft to a team that's already got an impressive cadre of young talent. It really is a time to be excited about being a Detroit Lions fan. And again, when was the last time we said that without having our fingers crossed behind our backs or something like that?
Yeah, cadre, gumption, Jeff Risdon, well-read, folks. This guy, educated guy here, throwing a lot of words. I got to get out of the thesaurus right now. I didn't know I had to come prepared with a dictionary to be able to understand what's happening here, but I love it, Jeff. I think that buying the organization some time to identify and develop the OC in waiting, I think that is huge for Ben Johnson to come back for at least another year to see if they have that person within the building already. I think that is a great point. It has been floated around and talked about for this offseason, if made available, should the Lions, because of all their ties out there to the LA Lions, should the Detroit Lions make a run at Jalen Ramsey?
And that's an interesting one. I don't understand why the Rams would get rid of him, and that's the part of it that gives me pause on it. Absolutely, if he's available, you got to go after him. To what extent you go after him, that's a tough one because he rocks your pay scale quite a bit. And if you're signing him, you are not re-signing a guy like Taylor Decker or a guy like Penei Sewell when he has his hand out next offseason for more money. It means that you're not going to be able to afford certain other things. Now, is he worth that? He could be. He certainly could be. I will say, though, that I'm not sure that Jalen Ramsey is the best fit for a Dan Campbell coached team.
Thank you.
And that's not a shot at either guy. They're just not. They are not cut from the same cloth, to borrow Dan's expression. They see things differently, and I'm not sure that would work. Incredibly talented player, pretty dang good football coach. But we've seen before, those marriages don't always work, and I think that's one of those where I question the fit on that, too.
Thank you. That is, the fit was one thing. Okay, athletically and talented, and yes, then you factor in, 29 years old. That's something, what are you willing to pay somebody? $15 million a season. Dead cap money, all of this comes into play, but then there is the personality of Ramsey and what he would do to a locker room that seems so cohesive right now. I mean, Penei Sewell was interviewed on Locker Room Cleanout Day, and he talked about how everybody genuinely cares about everybody else in the locker room. That's very rare to have at the professional level, and I think that when you have that, you're bringing in guys that are going to be very well liked and very well respected and are also going to give that same love in return and that same respect in return. I don't know if you get that with Jalen Ramsey. I don't know the guy personally. I don't spend a lot of time in LA's locker room, but just based on what I see from the outside, that makes me nervous. So I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that is a point of contention. Now, Jeff, you threw out a mock draft because, yes, it is mock draft season for us, and we do these types of things. You had quarterback at 18. Jeff Risdon, quarterback at 18?
I would absolutely go there if I don't take one at 6. Yeah. Remember, Jared Goff is the only quarterback under contract. I am sick and tired of paying for David Blau, for Chase Daniel, for incompetent veteran backups. Okay, one of the ways you phrase this, you want Isaiah Buggs back on this football team, right? As your number 3 defensive tackle.
Yeah, I take Buggs.
That's $4 million. If you're spending $4 million on a veteran backup that's Nate Sudfeld again, that means Isaiah Buggs isn't coming back to your team. You can draft somebody who has a much higher ceiling than the David Blau, Tim Boyles, Nate Sudfelds of the world. Get somebody in here who can give you insurance. Like, this is a team that's going to the playoffs next year, barring weirdness. You need somebody that can come in, and if Jared Goff, he bangs his finger on a helmet and has to miss 2 weeks, that you're not throwing those 2 weeks away, that you got somebody that can come in and spice things up a little bit. You don't need the quarterback in 2023. Jared Goff is the man. There's no question about that. But 2024, 2025, when his contract is going to change and get more expensive, you got to have some assurances that you have options, and you will not be in a position to get a premium quarterback again after this draft. You just won't. So I honestly think it's negligent if they don't take one in the first round. I know that's not a very popular position with a lot of folks, but I'm pretty steadfast on that. And I don't know who it would be yet, whether it's C.J. Stroud if he somehow falls, whether it's Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, or even taking somebody, maybe in the second or third round. But they've got to get some backup quarterback and slash number 2 quarterback. I don't even call it backup quarterback. Is the number 1 offensive need on this team. I know they're going to need a new starting right guard. They might have that in-house already, and it's fairly easy to find that. They've got to get the number 2 quarterback right. And by the way, they have not done that since Sean Hill was in town. It's been a long time since Sean Hill was backing up Matthew Stafford back in the day. They've got to get that right because it is a critical position on this offense, and you cannot spend enough resources to get it. And what happens if you hit on it? Then you can maybe trade Jared Goff after 2023 or 2024 and roll with a new guy and bring in new assets to help reset your salary cap and keep your window open. That's, to me, honestly, it's a no-lose situation, but I know a lot of folks disagree with that.
No, it is very interesting because I was, I thought a lot about that position, about this draft. Okay, if you stay at 6, you stay at 18, is there a way, if a guy like Stetson Bennett, would that even be of interest to this team if it's in the second or third round where, you get him, you don't have that monstrous, rookie slotted deal there. It's a little bit later. You find your backup. Maybe it's somebody who's a little bit older in Stetson Bennett. Would that be a good fit?
Yeah, I'm not a huge Stetson Bennett fan, but a guy like Hendon Hooker makes some sense. Jaron Hall from BYU is a guy I know the Lions have looked at. He's probably a third-round pick based on what I'm seeing right now. This is a team. They went down to Shepherdsville, West Virginia to watch Tyson Bagent, whose dad runs the professional arm wrestling circuit, watch him throw twice in person. A D2 school down there, Shepherd University. Ferris State, I think, didn't have to play them in the playoffs on their title run. But you don't go to Shepherdsville, West Virginia, find that on a map, folks. And without having good reason for it. He will be down at the Senior Bowl. He's one of the guys that we're going to be checking out. I will be down there in a couple of weeks live. The Lions will have people there all over the place. They are certainly looking at all their options on that. And look, again, we saw Max Duggan from TCU, tremendous gritty guy, not always the most accurate quarterback, but you can make that work as your number 2 as well. And I'm not opposed to that option either. But they have to draft somebody. I'm tired of throwing money that can be used better elsewhere at veterans that quite frankly, shouldn't be employed in the role that they're in Detroit. It's been going on for too long. It needs to stop.
He is Jeff Risdon. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Risdon. Oh, my goodness. Read his work at the Lions Wire. Jeff, my friend, as always, thank you so much for the time. All the best to you and the family and the kids, my friend.
My pleasure. It's a great day to be a Lions fan.